Derek Simnett.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So before I introduce you and before we, dive into your entrepreneurial journey, your fitness journey, you got to tell us about the Uno story. But before you tell us about the Uno story, show us the Uno card trick.
Okay, fine. So it's a silly trick, but yeah, it is pretty fun. So nothing in the hand, and bam, Uno card.
Oh, shit.
And you can make it disappear too.
So good. So for those of you who are just listening, this is available on Spotify video and YouTube video, and you can check out the Uno card trick. But yeah, tell us about the special place that these Uno cards have in your life.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, first of all, I'm not much of a magician. That's like my only trick, and I definitely pull it out whenever I can. So yeah, it's just an interesting story, and I'm excited about it because I have two Uno cards here, and one of them is a green number 4 Uno card, and another one is the blue number 8 Uno card. I figure I'd describe them for people that are just listening, but and they're both all torn up and pretty ratty. And I just put them together, and I always told myself, because I lost the number 4 Uno card for a while, which is the really special one to me. Lost it for a while, and I always said, once I put these two cards together, I know something powerful is going to happen, because you'll hear in this story how sort of serendipitous these two cards are to me. So when I was 16 years old, I lost my father to cancer, and this actually does play a role in my health journey as well. It started to allow me to realize, what we eat can dictate our long-term health and, our risk of certain diseases and stuff like that. But aside from that, he was, just an awesome guy. He was my soccer coach, great friend of mine. And him and my sister always loved playing Uno. And I just remember watching them, and I didn't know how to play. And I wasn't really interested in card games when I was younger, but I would always just sit there and watch them play. And that was a consistent thing of my childhood. And he always wore like green sweaters. Green was his favorite color, and he was my soccer coach on a soccer team that was green as well, the Aaron Mills Eagles. And I played soccer since I was as young as I could, up until after he passed away, and he was always my coach. And number 4 was his number when he played soccer, and it was my number when I played as well, and it was like his favorite kind of number. So you can already see the significance of this card, but where I found it is what's really cool. So a year after he passed away, I was skateboarding at the church where we actually had his funeral and his celebration of life. And that coming weekend, I had a big soccer tournament for that team that we were all still together, the team that he'd coached. And, I was not the best player, but I was definitely one of the playmakers, and I was a key player on the team. And I was skateboarding at this church, and I fell and rolled my ankle really, really badly. Well, at least it felt really bad. And I thought, oh my gosh, right away, I was like, I'm not going to be able to play, and my coach is going to be mad, because really we weren't supposed to be doing anything else that was dangerous, especially before games. And, we weren't supposed to be playing other sports and stuff. It was pretty high level soccer. And I thought, my gosh, this is not good. So I crawled over to a curb, and I looked down in between my knees, and I saw this Uno card sitting face down, and I picked it up, and it was a green number 4 Uno card. And I right away, I just got chills. I was like, this is how could this not be a message from my father? This is incredible. A number 4 green Uno card. So anyways, went home. I took the card, went home, and this was just a couple days before the tournament, and my ankle healed so quickly, where I was able to play in the tournament, and it was pretty miraculous. So scored a few goals. We did pretty well in that tournament, and so I always held on to this card, and I thought, this is pretty cool. Packed it away, and I didn't remember where it was, and it was kind of I've moved a whole bunch, just being in different rentals and stuff. So it was kind of in a box, a little ways, I don't know, somewhere in the cupboard. Hadn't found it. Anyways, years later, I'm mountain biking on my own in this trail that was a pretty gnarly trail, and it was dark, or it was just getting dark. It was dusk out, and I'm coming down this huge hill, and there was a cliff beside me, and I got bucked off my bike, and I start going over my handlebars, and I just remember being going off of this cliff. And I thought so many different things at that one moment. And I thought, it's dusk. I knew there was no one else. There was no one in the parking lot, no one else on the trail. I thought, if I get hurt, this is like bad. Like all these thoughts went through my head right at one time, and somehow managed to save it. Got to the bottom, packed my bike away, took a couple deep breaths, recovered. And then as I'm driving out, and this was like some logging road kind of deal. And as I'm driving out of the parking lot, I see an Uno card just caught my eye as I was driving out. And I was going to leave it because I was just wanted to get home and it was getting dark. And I thought, no way. Like after remembering that other Uno card that I found, I thought I've got to go back and look at this. And sure enough, it was a blue number 8 Uno card. Number 8 was the number that if I couldn't choose number 4, if someone had already choose that, I'd pick number 8. It was just like double of 4. And often in hockey, I would choose the number 8, and blue was my favorite color. So it's just such a crazy story, because I mean, how often do you see an Uno card just like laying around, especially maybe, in a parking lot, or when you're out mountain biking, like on some, random logging road. So anyways, just cleaned out my closet the other day, and finally was able to find them both and put them both together. So I don't know what that means for my life now, but it's going to be pretty special and epic, I think.
Yeah, I think that's like when you told me the story before we hit record, and I actually got like goosebumps when you're talking about it, just because, I really do feel like our ancestors look after us, like after they move on. And it really, in the story that you shared, it really seemed like your father was looking after you in both situations. One kind of helping you heal fast to be able to continue to do the sport the two of you loved and shared together. And then 2, protecting you from seriously injuring or ending your own life, doing another thing that you love to do. So I appreciate you sharing. So I better introduce you to the audience. So Derek Simnett is a holistic nutritionist and a popular YouTuber, almost 700,000 subscribers at this point, been on the YouTube journey for a really long time. And Derek was one of 3 people who inspired me to adopt a plant-based lifestyle. So it was Nimai Delgado, mutual friend of ours, Brian Turner, another mutual friend of ours, and Derek. And so when I first adopted the vegan lifestyle, I consumed the fuck out of the 3 of your content, all your Instagram stories, your posts, your YouTube videos. And it made me really excited to adopt the lifestyle, and it made it so easy, because prior to going plant-based, I thought like, yeah, right, that'd be so fucking hard. Tofu is like so boring and not like, it tastes like cardboard. I'm never gonna be caught dead eating tofu. And then as I got inspired originally by the seeing Nimai in the Game Changers documentary and recognizing like, holy shit, like you can actually build muscle and be jacked on a vegan diet. Like, okay, let me give this a shot. And then following your guys' content, I was like, all 3 of you, super fit dudes, and you live really fun lifestyles. So for me, this is such an honor to have you on the show, because you're one of my original inspirations to adopt this lifestyle that I now fully embrace and have been on, living and promoting for the last 4 years. So thank you for coming on the show, brother. It means a lot to me.
Cool, man. Well, thank you. Yeah, that was quite the introduction, and thanks for having me. And it makes me really happy to hear that I made it seem fun and attainable, because that's always been my whole thing. Like when I first went vegan, it was it was still kind of new. It was I've probably been doing this for 12 or 13 years now. It's kind of like living the vegan lifestyle. And it was about 15 years since I sort of started adopting it. And I stumbled a few times along the way then, but obviously it wasn't, I wasn't the first person to do it, but it wasn't as popular back then. And it was a really segmented sort of way of living, where everyone felt that their way or style of veganism was the best. And there was a lot of like, I found that there was a lot of infighting in the community. There was like, the raw, the high carb, there was like, there's all this the superfood sort of like David Wolf aspect of it, who I still follow. I still love all these people. I still follow a lot of them today because I can always pick little bits of, their information. But it was just so, it seemed like it was all these different extremes and they were always fighting. And I thought, man, there's got to be some sort of happy medium. And I've always said, like, I want to make it seem like living a plant-based lifestyle, eating a vegan diet is just this like fun party that people want to join. And that's that's kind of been my whole thing, like shine the light. And if people are interested, they can come towards it. But if not, then just keep on going.
Yeah, I definitely think you've achieved that, because it was, the three of you literally just showed how fun, how delicious it could be, how approachable, how like easily attainable. And I was one of those people, like I mentioned, like I thought going vegan would be like the hardest lifestyle and the hardest diet to ever follow. And like, my wife tried to get me to go plant-based for like 4 or 5 years. Like, and I was like, nope. Yeah, right. Like I gotta have my meat to like, build my muscle. And like, I'm not going to be like a skinny, like, weak ass vegan. And, and I don't think, so I'm not like a vegan zealot. I don't think everyone has to go vegan. You have to be like vegan or like you're a bad person. I just think that going more plant-based is better for your health span, which you and I share that. Like both my parents like have cancer or had cancer. You mentioned that may have played a role in your father or some of your family stuff. So we'll go into that. But I just want the audience to know that this is not like a podcast episode where it's like, if you're not vegan, you're not welcome. It's more like, let us share with you both Derek's entrepreneurial journey, how he actually became a popular YouTuber, and then also kind of like how he transitioned, throughout his kind of fitness and nutrition journey, and like how he made it really approachable. So I just wanted to call that out. But I want to take you and go back to kind of the beginning of your career. Like take us back to high school or college or wherever you think it kind of like, how did you become this super popular YouTuber? Like, where did it all begin?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm super popular, but in the niche, I guess that I'm in, I sort of am. But so I've always loved cooking. That was always one of my favorite things. And I've had so many different careers. Like I've tried, or I don't know if you'd call them careers, but different, goes at things. Like right out of school, I studied out of high school, I went to post-secondary, went to college for public relations and marketing. And I, got a diploma in that, and I got into that, and I realized that I was always just like pushing and promoting someone else's message. And I had to pretend that I believed in it, whether it was, this, whatever the product was. It was always like, okay, I got to like sell myself on this so then I could sell it to other people. And that gets old really quickly. And especially being in public relations, you're kind of like, they call them like the spin doctors. Like you always have to put like a positive spin on, different things. So I realized that, it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. And so got out of that for a little while. Like I said in the beginning, I loved skateboarding. That was kind of my thing. And I'd had jobs on and off at skateboard shops. So started working at like a local skateboard shop. At this time, I'd moved from Ontario out to BC, did most of my growing up out east. But now I live in British Columbia, and I was working at a skate shop out here. And a guy came in one day and said, "Hey, what do you like? You're a little bit older. You seem like a smart guy. What are you doing working in here?" Kind of thing. Not there's anything wrong with working in a skate shop, but it's hard to pay bills when you're working part-time at a retail store. So I said, I just kind of told him what my story, and I said, I haven't really found anything that I love yet. And he said, well, why don't you come do some electrical work? So I was like, all right, so the pay's probably pretty good. And I'd never done a job where I like really worked with my hands, and I always loved building things and wanted to learn how to learn a trade. So did that for a little while. And they started to kind of pressure me like, okay, you got to either get serious about this and go to school, or we got to kind of figure something out. Basically, like you got to move on and do something else. So I kind of I was like, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. But I did do it for a few years and really enjoyed learning that trade and picking up other skills along the way. And it really helped me to be like confident around, because, you know, like there's a lot of sort of like, I don't know, like pretty raw and like masculine dudes that are in construction. And up until that point, I was never really forced to be around a lot of those kind of people. So it really helped me to like build my confidence, especially like handling tools and that sort of thing. And then from there, I mean, I'm listening, you know, obviously this is the fast forwarded version. I'm skipping about 50 different jobs that I had. But from there, I started dating this girl who was going to school for holistic nutrition. And I kind of realized like, wow, if I could like learn about this stuff and, you know, make it sort of my lifestyle and like maybe help people do this eventually, like I'll always, you know, I'll be accountable to other people being healthy, and I will, you know, eventually get to teach this and pass it on. And I knew it would be like really inspiring. So that kind of put the bug in my ear. And that's where I started to eat a more plant-based diet, because, you know, she was not pressuring me, but she was like, yeah, no, we got to start buying like, you know, grass-fed this and that. And I was like, yeah, I love animals. I want to be better to the animals. So I started doing that. And it got expensive. So that's kind of what I started eating less and less of like the expensive meat and eggs and that, and more like cheaper foods like rice and beans. And I started feeling great and more, you know, I started feeling energetic, and I had some acne and stuff at the time, and that started to go away. And I thought, wow, okay, this is pretty good. I started to lose weight that like, you know, and I was a runner at the time as well. So it started to make running easier, and I just could recover faster. So I thought, okay, there's definitely something to this. So that was sort of what, you know, led me into this path. And then to tie it back to the story I told in the beginning, once I started to kind of learn, and I don't want to alienate anybody, but there are certain like, you know, cancers and diseases and stuff like that that are associated with a higher meat diet. And once I learned my dad, you know, he passed away from, well, first he had esophageal cancer. He was a big drinker, and I was a big drinker too growing up. I loved partying and drinking, and kind of like started to make that connection of alcohol and esophageal cancer. And then he also, around the same time, had colon cancer. And, you know, once I started learning the different associations, I was like, okay, well, you know, there's definitely something to this. And you know, it's easy to kind of, you always know that like what you eat is going to dictate your long-term health, but until you start really like seeing it like firsthand like that, you know, it certainly becomes like more real. So that was sort of, yeah, my introduction to eating a more plant-based diet, and realizing that like I don't want to be promoting other people's products and dreams and goals. Because at this time I'd actually I got a job working. I was just doing random marketing jobs for different marketing firms, and yeah, they knew that I was into like health and food and that sort of stuff. So I'd be put on like, you know, for a while I worked for like a bottled water company, and it was like selling this like more, you know, alkaline water and this sort of thing, where it's like, okay, I kind of like that it's just like water, not like Coke. But it was like, we also have like, you know, I know that bottled water isn't like a great solution to, you know, to people, you know, we shouldn't be consuming a ton of this and like promoting it. Like, let's face it, you know, there's a lot of plastic in this world. You know, and it was stuff like that, you know, I'd get put on, you know, I was trying to eat plant-based, and I'd get put on like some sort of like yogurt, like, thing. And I'd have to be promoting somebody else's yogurt and telling people the health benefits of it when I didn't really, you know, consume the product or like the product myself. So then I started to realize, man, I got to do something for myself where I can promote my own message.
I love that. So I'm just curious to give people a timeline, because oftentimes it feels like people are overnight successes. It's like, you know, you have almost like 700,000 YouTube subscribers. Like, when did you first, like, what, do you remember what year it was that you were like dating this person who kind of encouraged you to, you know, adopt a more plant-based lifestyle?
Yeah, well, it must have been, I mean, the last few years have just gone by so quickly. It must have been about, I would say, oh man, yeah, probably I don't know, like 12, 13 years ago at least. I don't want to mess the timeline up too much. I'm so bad with timelines.
Yeah.
But it was a while ago. And I think I've had my YouTube channel for about 8 years now, 8 or 9 years. And so the way that started was I started to I realized, okay, I got to get some sort of education in this because, I got to learn about this profession. So I went to school for holistic nutrition, and I had a few friends in my life that were going to school for that. I knew I didn't want to be a dietitian because at least here in Canada, when you're a dietitian, you have to like follow the Canadian food guide. And usually you work in like a hospital setting where you're helping like terminally ill people, and it just wasn't what I really wanted to do. And you got to go through a lot of schooling to do that. So I kind of looked like what is like what will sort of like fast track me to like where I want to go. And it seemed like the holistic nutrition was it, and it really appealed to me. So I signed up for school, and I knew I wanted. There's a few avenues that people go down when they work as a holistic nutritionist. Some people are sort of they're like, they make meal plans for naturopath doctors because naturopath doctors don't have the time to make meal plans, but they just kind of give a holistic nutritionist sort of the outline of what they need for their patients or clients. And then, the holistic nutritionist would make the diet plan. There's also like, a lot of people work for a supplement company and sort of, promote supplements, go to different health food stores, do talks on that sort of thing. Basically be a sales rep for supplement companies. And that was a little too close to what I was trying to get away from. And obviously there's a few other things that people do, but those are sort of the main two. And then another one would be to have like your own practice and take on clients. And so I thought, well, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to help people. And so I just started to start my own thing, and that was Simnett Nutrition. That's the name of the YouTube channel, but really it started as my consulting services. And I realized that I'm going to need to get some clients, and I didn't want to necessarily do it. I knew that doing it locally would really put a cap on how many people I was able to see, and I'd probably have to get, rent an office, and the expenses would be higher. And so I just thought, well, if I can do it online, it's going to be a lot easier, make me, mobile. I can help people from all around the world. And so that's what I started doing. And once I finished, it was even before I finished school, I knew I needed to start something. And so I started helping people, and it was really scary to get the first few clients. And the first one, I didn't tell you, obviously you don't tell them, right? But I remember sitting there being like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I really don't. And I hope this person doesn't realize this. And I was coming out of school, we learned about all these different conditions and, serious health problems that people have. And I always thought, as soon as I start this, I know these are the clients that I'm going to have. It's going to be like the most complicated, health conditions, and it's going to be so hard and so scary. And we're going to have to be getting blood tests, and have to work with their doctors and all this sort of stuff. And then once I started rolling with it, it was like, people just need reassurance that, of what they already know. And also reversing some like things that people, some preconceived notions about like carbs being bad. And, that obviously sugar, not great. More complex carbohydrates, beans, and, whole grains and stuff, in my opinion, good. And but that was the big thing for me. Was like, yeah, after the first few, I realized, well, I can really do this, and it's really not that hard. Of course, depending on what you specialize in, you might have to, if you really want to help with like terminally ill people or whatever, yeah, of course. But most of the people that were coming to me and finding me were just wanted to lose a little bit of weight, just wanted to be healthier, wanted to know the proper way to eat more plant-based. And so that's why I started my YouTube channel, because I thought, well, I need some clients here. And it's basically like the modern day calling card, or a business card, sorry, is like having a social media account. So started that. And after I got a few thousand subscribers, my whole thing was like, I put out some free information. And at the end of the video, I'd be like, hey, if you want some help, you can always contact me. And I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I do consults. And so that started to grow pretty quickly. And before I knew it, I had my hands full with enough clients. And then my YouTube started to take off. And this was probably maybe about 2 or maybe 3 years after I'd started the channel. It really started to grow really quickly. And I didn't really realize how unusual it was, but I started getting calls from other, sort of big name YouTubers at the time who was like, man, you're doing really good. I can't believe how quickly your channel's growing, all this. I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing my thing. And so then I kind of realized I like making videos more than I kind of liked helping people one-on-one at the time. And it was just something new and fun. And I realized that there wasn't necessarily so much of a cap on how much money I could make by doing that, because I knew that the larger I grew my audience, the more I could kind of utilize that, the more eyes were on me, the more money I could make, and the more people that I could reach and help. Because a lot of people just needed reassurance, like I said, and a little bit of hand holding. So stopped doing the consulting and focused on my YouTube. And that's where we are now.
I love that. So a
Yeah.
couple kind of follow-up questions for you, just because like I kind of inherently understand what a holistic nutritionist is, but like what does that even mean?
I have no idea. No, I do. It's so you basically, like, the holistic nutrition treats the body as a whole entity. So it's like if you're rather than treating symptoms individually, you basically try and get to the root of the problems, and you try and look at things as things are all interconnected, which they are in the body. So that's why, rather than like traditional medicine, it's like, okay, if you have high blood pressure, like, take these high blood pressure pills and that'll bring that down. But it's like, no, let's get to the source of why you have high blood pressure. If you have, constant, if your digestion's really bad, and that's what the whole thing with holistic nutrition too, is like the digestion and your gut is the root of a lot of either your health outcomes, basically, whether it's good or bad. So that's sort of holistic nutrition. And even to go on a bigger scale, it like the health of the soil, the health of like the environment and everything is going to eventually trickle down and become the health of us. So it's all about taking care of everything from the soil, growing the most nutrient rich foods that you can grow, and then it just keeps on going up the chain until it gets to us and our health. So and then a lot of, obviously, like, using herbal remedies when possible. Of course, believe in like an integrative approach where it's like, if you have some sort of acute condition, then you need to take some medicine so that it doesn't get worse, so that you don't have like a heart attack or something like that. Obviously, I'm all for that, but there's a lot of really powerful like herbs out there that we can be consuming that'll help us in our health journeys. And so that's kind of like what holistic nutrition is basically treating the body as a whole entity and knowing that everything is connected.
Yeah. And just to kind of like insert a little bit of my own story. So the reason I stayed like plant-based and vegan is because both my parents, my mom had breast cancer, double mastectomy. She's thankfully cancer-free. And my father got prostate cancer and has been managing it for the last like 10 plus years. And knock on wood, still going to be around for a while. But like, I, in my own head, was like, what can I do so that I don't also get cancer in my 60s or 70s? And, through my own research, kind of discovered that a whole food plant-based diet is really the only diet that's scientifically been proven to reduce the chances of cancer. And so I know I can't wait till I'm 60 or 70 to start. Like, I have to do the prevention now so that when I'm 60 or 70, I don't have to be like, fuck, now I have to go get chemo and have my prostate removed and all this stuff. And for me personally, kind of like going through my parents having cancer has been one of the most emotionally, spiritually challenging things that I've had to go through, because I'm sure you can relate, like losing a father. It's like, that shit is fucking hard. And it's like, or when you have a family member who's sick, it's really hard. Like, unfortunately, I just found out last week, another family member, like my favorite aunt, like has just got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I'm just like, oh God. So, but kind of enough about my story and my journey. I'm like, I really love your entrepreneurial journey. And there is a story that you shared on another podcast, actually Nehemiah's podcast. I'll give him props, where I think kind of during your time as an electrician, you actually went on unemployment. And then there was kind of like a unique thing that happened. I like to call it your manifestation story, but can you walk us through that story?
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely left that part out. So there was a time where, yeah, I worked with the electrical company, and they kind of like let me go. They were downsizing a lot, and I was not wanting to go to school. I was one of the guys that they sort of let go. And so up here in Canada, I'm sure it's the same there. I got to go on unemployment insurance, and because I was anyway, well, I was, you do okay as an electrician. So I was like making pretty decent money just on unemployment insurance. So I was like, I know I'll never look back on this time when I'm, in 10 or 15 years from now for just like chilling on this unemployment insurance. And I've always paid into it my entire life with like my taxes and everything. So I thought I got pretty comfy doing that. And I thought I'm really going to discover what I want to do, because, when you're working so much, you come home and you're tired, and, you have a couple of hobbies or passions or whatever that you want to do. It's really hard to explore what other avenues that you might want to do as far as like, your professional life. It's just, you just don't have the time or the mental energy to really do that. So I thought, okay, I'm really going to take this time and figure out what I want to do. So that was like a lot of like like smoking weed and jogging in the forest was like my way of figuring that out. And that was working for a while. And then I got a letter in the mail, and it was the government of Canada, and they were like, yo, you've been on unemployment for a while. We want to see that you are applying to jobs. And if you aren't, you've got to come to these workshops and basically like build your skills and build like a resume and this sort of stuff. And I thought, dang, well, that sounds easier than like actually applying to work. So I'm like, all right, I'll go to that. And I thought, hey, you never know. I might learn something. And it'd been a while since I'd made a resume or CV or whatever people want to call it. And I thought, okay, maybe it'll help me do that. And so I went, and it was okay. I just sort of went so I could continue collecting the check for the rest of the year. And they were doing like, the Myers-Briggs test to find out like what colors you are, and that sort of stuff. And I think that's the Myers-Briggs test, your personality and this sort of thing. And I didn't take it all that seriously. And then they handed out this sheet one day, and they said, okay, write down, I think it was 5 things. Write down 5 things that you want in your dream job. And it could be absolutely anything. It could be, a certain amount of money. It could be where in the world you want to work, whatever. And I was like, damn, this is dumb. Like, why, when are you ever going to get your dream job, right? And I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, this is why I'm here, to figure out like a job. So yeah, start writing stuff down. And it was kind of hard at first, right? Because when you just have these, they're just like, think lofty goals. Like, it doesn't have to be anything even that you think you could attain. So so I started writing stuff down. And one of them was, okay, well, I knew I didn't want to work for people anymore. We'd been over that, and I just was tired of that. So I want to be my own boss. I just want to work for myself. And then the second thing was, okay, well, I really liked food, so I want to work with food somehow. And then the third thing was photography and film, because that's always been a side hobby of mine, is just like, taking pictures and making I used to just make little like short videos. This is before there was even like social media, before posting online and stuff. Maybe on Facebook I could post them, but I don't think I even did. Just little like running videos, just cool little ways to cut stuff together and whatever. Anyways, yeah. So third was, I want it to be like film. And then the fourth, I really like teaching people. That was one of my things. So maybe be some sort of a teacher, mentor, something like that. And then the fifth thing was, no cap on my salary, because I'd always had jobs where I traded my time for money. And, you can only work so much. And, you can get small raises every year, but you're not going to be making a whole lot more than that unless you can get bonuses or investing or something, which I was definitely not into at the time. Still not. I should be. I'm sure you are. But yeah, so those were the things. And they said, just hold on to this piece of paper and put it away. And that's it. That's the whole exercise. So I was like, all right, whatever. This is like weird. I'm looking at all those things. Like, what am I going to be where I'm going to be like, work for myself, a teacher, food, photography, and then no salary cap. And I was thinking like, well, maybe, and this is even really before, like, social media wasn't big at this time. No one was really making money doing it. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll be like a food photographer and then get into teaching other people how to do food photography. Because I had worked as a server a little bit, and I was always interested when they would come in. I worked at a restaurant where we were kind of like the main, we had the test kitchen and all that sort of stuff. So they would come in and take the pictures for like the new upcoming menus. And I was always really interested in how they would do that because, they had all these different lights and they'd paint the food. And sometimes they'd use stuff that wasn't even like cooked, but it would represent cooked food. And it was just like always, I was always asking so many questions, and I thought that was really interesting. So I thought, okay, maybe that's a career for me. I don't know how much they get paid or whatever, but it seemed interesting, and it seemed like it fit the bill. So it wasn't anything that I actively pursued, but it was really the only thing that I could imagine. And then, here we are years later, and I'm working for myself, doing nutrition. I have some recipe ebooks and things like that. I get to help people and teach them online about health and nutrition and recipes. Salary cap is not like however high I want it to be, really. I mean, of course, I'm not like making millions over here, but there really isn't. If I want to do a new project where I want to, put out a new recipe ebook or a course on something, or I want to take on clients or maybe do some group coaching or whatever, like these are all options that I could do on top of making videos. And then film and photography, food, it's all worked itself into it. So it's like, it was so powerful writing this stuff down. And at the time I just thought it was like a big joke, and I just sort of like brushed it off. And now here we are, and it's come true.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think the power of taking something and actually writing it down physically on a piece of paper, and it's almost like you're scripting into your life, like something that could physically manifest. And, I just have to ask, like, what are some of your most popular YouTube videos, just to like tie everything together?
Okay. So one video that I used to do much more of a mix of like workout stuff, because I'm really into calisthenics. That's like one of my things, and not the calisthenics world's gone crazy where guys are doing like crazy tricks, and like it's like gymnasts have gone from gymnastics and now we're doing like calisthenics, and kids are growing up doing these tricks. So I'm like nothing like that. I'm like more of a reps and sets kind of guy, where I'm like, I'm not learning these like crazy skills and tricks, but I just love how I love that you can take this anywhere. You can go to the top of a mountain, workout, you can take it on vacation, you can always have like decent workouts just with your body weight, right? And then, so now I mix body weight in with my with going to the gym and using weights and that sort of stuff. So I used to do a lot more of that, but I realized that people like, just at least my audience, wanted more like recipes and nutritional knowledge than they wanted that sort of thing. So it's always a sort of constant theme, because a saying that I've always liked is like, the food is what gives you fuel, but it's what you do with that fuel that really matters. And so I always like to show at least a little bit of, if I do like a vlog or whatever, show a little bit of my workouts and that sort of stuff in a vlog. And also to show, you can have a little bit of muscle and be athletic and eat plant-based as well. So, but go back to the question, though. One of my most popular videos is kind of funny. I was doing an ab routine on the top of, there's a mountain in my town where I live here, and it's called Little Mountain, but it just has this like beautiful view, and it's like a cliff face, and looks out over this like valley and some other mountains behind. And I was up there and doing like a core workout that it was just, I think it was like 3 or 5 exercises, pretty silly. And down from where I was working out into the forest down below, I heard this weird noise, and it sounded like some sort of snarl. And halfway through the video, I jolted and I looked down there, and I looked back at the camera, and I was like, I don't know what that was. And then I just kept on going. And so when I was editing it in post, I couldn't cut it out, because I don't know. I just, at the time I was like, I don't know how I could really cut it out and make this video seem smooth. And so I left it in, but I added a sound effect to it of this, like, I think it was, I forget what it was. It was like a boar or something like that. And I just added it like quiet enough in the background that you could hear it, but not loud enough where it was like, wow, this is obviously added in. But the timing and the sound and everything, it worked like so well. And it made people comment on the video, and that video started to take off, and it continues to be one of my most watched videos to this day. It's quite an old one, and the quality is not there, and I was really shy on camera and everything, but that was one of the ones that took off, and I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting. It's definitely not a tool that I've utilized much moving forward. Like, it's not like I add these things into my videos now being like, I hope people comment. And that wasn't even really the purpose of it. I just found a noise that was similar to what I heard. And I just thought I would add that because I'm like, well, you can't hear it in the background. I wasn't using like an external mic or anything at the time, just the camera mic. And so I thought this would be fun to add. But yeah, people started commenting, dude, I'm a hunter and I know that was a mountain lion. You got to get the heck out of there or whatever. And so yeah, I just got all these comments. People that knew what the sound was, they were like, I know it's the bear. I know it's this thing. Anyways, that was one of my most watched videos. And but another one too was just a full day of eating. That was like one of the ones. I know they're really popular now, but when I started to do them, they weren't as popular. And I got the idea from other people that were doing them at the time. Like, I think Brian was probably doing them, and another guy that's John Venus, who's no longer vegan, but he was doing that at the time as well, the full day of eatings. And they seemed really cool to me because it put it into context. It was like, I could see, you get these vegan meals here and there and, recipes, but you're like, some of the time they were so complicated and, and just, I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And then once you see people kind of put it in throughout the day, you're like, this makes sense to me. So that was one of my other videos that kind of popped off, was like one of my full day of eating videos that I did. And I think it was more the thumbnail than anything. It was just, lots of bright and colorful food. That just basically emptied out the fridge and put all these like fruits and vegetables on the counter. And I was kind of looking up at the camera with my hands like out. And that video started to really pop off.
Yeah, I just think it's super fascinating how it seems like the videos that your audience really loves are those like, how do you make a vegan version of X, Y, and Z, and like full day of eating,
well, yeah.
and like high protein like meals, and it's like everything that you talked about with kind of your like manifestation exercise, like cooking, working with food, teaching people, showcasing, both utilizing your photography and filming skills, your love of cooking and your love of teaching people. And, I'm a huge fan of YouTube, kind of on the kind of science side. Like humans, like we have these things called mirror neurons. And essentially like pretty much all mammals have these, so like monkeys will like imitate their parents, and humans, babies do the same thing. They just imitate their parents. But even as adults, one of the easiest ways for us to learn is to literally just watch someone do what we want to do, and automatically, subconsciously, our mirror neurons will pick this up. So like that's why like the full day of eating, it puts it into context, and then you're like, holy shit, now I know how to do it. And this is what I did when I first went plant-based and vegan, as I was following all your YouTube videos, your Instagram stories, and I was able to piece it together like really easily. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's so hard to do this. It was just like, all right, I'm just going to watch some YouTube videos and some stories and some Instagram posts that like Nima, Brian, and Derek are putting up. And it was like super fucking easy. So I just love that you like were able to like do this random ass manifestation workshop that you thought was like dumb as hell, and now it's all come to fruition. And so just side note for the audience, like use this as an excuse to, like, after you listen to the show, take 10 minutes, just write down 3 to 7 things that your dream job would incorporate, and write it down on a physical piece of paper, maybe like put it up on your wall, and just like watch how the next few years of your life continue to unfold. So like, I think that's like super awesome. And then also just like one of the things that I want to call out for the audience is like the fun and the play and the kind of humor that you always
Mm,
incorporate. Like you didn't have to go back and edit that video and like put in the sound, but like you knew that like, oh, this is a way for me to make this work and make it fun. And so I'm just like curious, you kind of brought this up a little bit with calisthenics.
right.
You know, and we might jump back into kind of your YouTube's like journey, just because I know the audience is curious, like about your filming production process and your creative process. But I'm just curious, kind of like, why'd you get into calisthenics? And like, it seems like you're really into kind of like following the fun when it comes to like both kind of like work and fitness.
Hmm. So yeah, I mean, it started out as like, let's say I was financially limited to, but not going to a gym. I was like, when I started, Simnett Nutrition, I didn't have, much money. It was a real shoestring budget. And, even my YouTube video, the first few videos I filmed was on like, I think it was on it's just on an iPhone, which now everyone films on, a lot of people film on iPhones because they're great quality, but back then definitely wasn't. But, yeah, it's so why calisthenics? Yeah, I basically started because I couldn't really afford to go to the gym, and I wanted to build some muscle. And I started to like see guys on YouTube. There was like the Bar Brothers, Bar Stars. There's Frank Madrano, who's a legend. He's still doing it to this day. There was a couple other ones that I was watching, and these guys were like absolutely like shredded, so strong, and doing things that were like looked fun, and working towards like skills I thought was really cool as well. And I did do that for a while, learning front lever and handstands and that sort of stuff. But even just like dips and that sort of thing, if you're not if you don't practice them, it's not the easiest thing to do. And I guess growing up skateboarding and kind of looking towards like putting effort into learning a skill and then getting that, I always liked that gratification at the end of like, oh, I learned something. So I think with calisthenics, it sort of like was very similar to that for me. And it was also fun. There was a beautiful like calisthenics park near my house, and I would just like jog down there, and there ended up being like this small community of people that kind of did the same thing there. And yeah, it just felt great. It was fun, and it felt like play. And that was something, as a kid, I just loved going to like the playground. Like that was like my thing, right? Just climbing around and just being free. And then as I got older and more specialized in like running, it was sort of it was fun, but it was so it didn't get boring. I don't want to say that, but it was sort of like I wanted more. So I started to, when I kind of wanted to start building muscle, which actually had to do with doing consulting and that sort of stuff, which we can get into. I started to just like look and see things around the forest that I could like. I'd see like a big rock, and I'd be like, all right, I'll jog, and then find a big rock, and I'll do like a bunch of overhead presses and maybe squats with this rock, and then throw it down, and then keep running, and then look for like a branch that was like horizontal, and then do some pull-ups on that. And my run started to turn more into that, going into the forest and looking, logs that you could like press overhead or whatever. It started to go more into that than it was the running. And then I started seeing my body change pretty quickly and building some muscle. I thought, man, there's like definitely really something to this. So I just started to get a little bit more serious about that, and definitely like, yeah, evolved into that. And I just love that. Yeah, it just feels like adult like play. Like you could just go to a park or a calisthenics park, and there's something so nice about hanging. But yeah, hanging, doing pull-ups, leg raises, and then dips, trying to learn handstands, and you just doing a whole bunch of different stuff is just really fun.
Why did you originally want to put on some muscle?
Yeah, so when I started to do consulting, I was told by one of like my mentors at school. He was a professor, but he was also like, I went to him for sort of strategy and stuff, and he said you cannot be scared to specialize in something. A lot of people, they don't want to niche because they're worried that this is going to cut off a huge section of the population that they will not be able to have as clients or customers. But when you do that, you end up having people from so many different walks of life that it's like for instance, when I was, doing holistic nutrition, I if I have somebody that comes to me that doesn't know that I'm vegan, or I, promote a vegan diet, then I have to kind of explain that to them. And then they're either gonna, like, I either have to say, okay, I'm not gonna recommend meat to you or anything like that, and then they're gonna be like, okay, well, this is not the guy for me, and leave, and then we've just both wasted our time. Or I'm gonna have to create meal plans that have meat and stuff in them that I didn't necessarily feel good about. So, having like a niche, is really important. So I knew that was something that I had to do right off the bat. So I'm a plant-based nutritionist. Come to me if you want some help with your plant-based diet. And I'd get people that would, they'd fill out the intake forms and stuff, and I'd meet them, and they'd kind of see my YouTube channel, and they'd see that I'm a runner, and I was like, really thin and lean, which is nothing wrong with that. I want to throw that out there. Like, it's great to have a runner's physique, but I kept on being met with the roadblock. Well, I want to build some muscle. I want to put on some muscle, and this lifestyle and this diet might work for you, but I want to build muscle. And a lot of guys, want to do that, that are, athletic and into that sort of thing. So I realized that was going to be a big roadblock for me. And I thought, well, I know it can be done because there was other people that were, build muscle on a plant-based diet, but I wanted to prove it to myself so that I felt good about this, and then also be a bit of a billboard for what I'm promoting. So that was kind of what started it. And I started to build some muscle, and then people were like, oh, wow, like, yeah, I want to learn from you on how I can do this as well. And really quickly that turned things around for me. So I kept doing it, and it's just turned into like part of my life. I mean, by no means am I like a bodybuilder, but I definitely, I'm a plant-based or vegan that lifts, let's say that, and enjoys being athletic. And I still want to be able to, run and do calisthenics and be mobile and that sort of thing. So it's not like I'm strictly focused on building muscle, but that's definitely, a nice side effect of what I do.
Yeah. And I think you and I are kind of similar. Like, we're athletic, but we're also very into like having a good base of muscle, but also being like incredibly functional. So like that we can do
Mm,
things like mountain bike, like you mountain bike, I rollerblade. And like, I
yeah.
do a lot of gymnastics rings, and you do like a fuck ton of like, pull-ups and calisthenics types things. And I know you work on the rings as well some. And I just like, I'm similar to you. Like, I want to play. Like, I want to
Mm-hmm.
follow the fun when it comes to my fitness, because that's what like will keep me there for the long run. Because the way I think about it is like willpower is finite, but like when you're following the fun, it taps into spirit, and spirit is infinite. And if you're, because to be like inspired is to be in spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're inspired by your own fitness journey, and it can change and evolve over time, like, in my own journey, just this year I got into weighted batons and clubs and maces, because I'm like, all right, I'm kind of getting bored with what I'm doing, like, let me try learning a new skill. And I love that about you, because like at your heart, you're like such a DIY dude. Like you just like before we were like hit record, you're like, yeah, I was trying to like glue my old like headphones together because it like broke. Like, I'm not broke, like I can afford new headphones, but I just wanted to try and fix it. And it's just like, it's really funny how that is just like such a core part of what you do. And I think that comes together really beautifully in both your YouTube production as well as like your food production. Like, you love to like utilize the skill of like in creating incredible meals. Like, every fucking day I look at your stories, I'm like, dude, your meals just are like, your plate presentation is like on fucking point. And it's just like, when you shared that story about being in that test kitchen, it's like, it's so interesting how like all these different pieces of your past careers like all play like a huge role in what you do today. And it's like you've gleaned like massive amount of like, you've utilized and leveraged those experiences and channeled them into like a really beautiful expression, a creative expression that is really, like I said before, approachable and fun and fascinating. Like, I know you think you live a super boring life, but the truth is, like, when I've been following you for the last 4 years, I'm like, dude, fucking Derek's life is awesome. Like if I'm living like that, I'm living my fit rich life. Like so I want to circle back a little bit just because, you know, a lot of my audience is people who they want to, you know, start their own business or they want to grow their own kind of like content career.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, like, what are some of the things that you would share with someone who's at kind of like the beginning of their either entrepreneurial journey or their content creation journey?
Mhm.
Like, what are some of the things that you wish you could have like gone back and told a younger version of you that would have like saved you some frustration or saved you some time?
Right. Um, so yeah, I think having like I said before, like having a niche is, I think, really important because you really want people to look at you and say, this is the person for me. I don't want to get this. I don't want to get, you know, my help or my message or anything from anyone else. I want it from this person. And you really want to make that connection. And if you're just too broad with your message or your brand or whatever, then I feel like that's going to, you know, you're not going to attract that type of person. And you want to attract people that are interested in the same things as you are. So I think finding a niche, I think, is really important. Also, not worrying about having all of your ducks in line to start something. Like, you'll always, if you make these excuses like, okay, I'm going to wait until I get a better camera and then I'll start my YouTube channel, or I'm going to wait until I have like the most perfect logo and then I'll start my brand, or I'm going to wait until I have an accountant so that I know like or I understand all the tax stuff, like, and then I'll start. It's like you're just going to have to learn along the way, because these things are always going to come up. And when you're first starting out, it doesn't really matter. Like, people aren't, you know, unless you're launching this like huge brand, which, you know, you're already going to, like, you're not going to be at this stage anyways, because you'll know all this stuff already. But if you're, you know, you're people aren't going to see it. And that's what really helped me, was like knowing like not a lot of people are going to see my first video. So don't stress about it. You know, at first I was worried, like, once I put this video out, this is all I'm about on YouTube, this one video. And that's my whole identity until I put up another video. And then all I'm about is just these two videos. And, you know, whether it be the quality of it or my message or what I'm talking about in it. But it was comforting to know, somebody once told me, and it's kind of, you know, it shouldn't be discouraging, but people aren't going to see your first video. People aren't going to see your first post. Your logo is going to change over time. You know, you can even change your name before you get too deep into things. And so I think all that sort of stuff like is important, but it shouldn't stop you from making progress.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I wish I had understood that in my 30s, and I would
Mm,
have like started a lot sooner. Cause like the truth is, I didn't launch a podcast until I was 40. And cause like
mm,
it was the same thing. Like, I have to understand everything and everything has to be fucking perfect. And, you know, all this stuff. And the truth is, like, my podcast used to be called Alchemize Life. And like it had
right.
a lot of meaning to me, but no one understood what the fuck that meant. So I like changed the name to Fit Rich Life, because it's like, oh, like fitness, money, okay, like life optimization, pretty apparent. And so I
Mm,
totally just want to double click on that for people, is like, the best way to fucking do any like you know, entrepreneurial thing, content creator, is to fucking learn by doing. And
mm-hmm,
like I just went to video on Spotify yesterday for episode number 65, and I just went to YouTube video production like 45 episodes in. Like, I just started with like pure audio, because I was like, that's like, I don't even know how to do the video. Like, I'm just gonna like start as small as possible, as simple as possible. And then over time, you learn like how to improve the quality. You learn how to expand to other platforms. You learn all these different things, but you will never learn any of those if you never start.
yes.
And because like you'll be stuck in like, you know, research mode. And like I talk about this all the time with my coaching clients, is like, stop fucking researching, just start building. And then when you
Mm-hmm,
run into a problem, research that specific problem, or reach out to your coach and like
mm-hmm,
solve that problem, and then keep building until you run into the next problem. And like you
Yeah,
will grow
exactly.
10 to 100 times faster than everyone else who's literally just like, okay, I got to read this book and I have to set up my LLC. Like so many people
Mhm.
like ask me like, should I set up an LLC before I start my business? I'm like, fuck no, just sell your first client or your first product. Don't even fucking
Mhm.
care about taxes or anything else, because if you can never sell something, none of that's going to matter. All that matters is you have a viable, like a MVP, minimal viable product or service, and like sell that first thing, sell it, and then build it.
Exactly.
So I love that. Before we hit it record, you talked about how like your own kind of production process for your weekly YouTube videos, and like I was like so surprised when you shared that with me, just because you make it look so fucking effortless. So can you walk the audience through kind of just your own like weekly struggle with your own creative process?
Right. So I I write down a lot of ideas. Whenever I think of one, I'll put it in the notes app on my phone. I'll have like a note open, and it's just like video ideas, and I'll throw that in there. Uh, and I think it's important to have like a running sort of tab of different ideas for posts or for video or whatever business ideas. Because then at least I have somewhere to like go to. I'm not just like starting from complete blank. But yeah, basically, like I try and upload once a week. I used to do twice a week, and I'd like to get back to that. But I was getting burned out. I was finding that I was having to reduce the like quality of my videos to keep up with the quantity, and I just didn't. I didn't want to do that. So I just just one video a week, trying to upload on the weekend, usually Saturday. I've been trying Sundays lately because it seems to be some of my videos sometimes do better on Sunday, but yeah, once on the weekend. So yeah, let's say I get a good upload up, and then usually I'll reward myself with a day or two off where I just go, mountain biking and, exploring out in the nature and just kind of de-stress. Because it is like, I don't think people realize how like extensive it is to like put up a video between creating a thumbnail basically from the idea, so which we'll go over, to filming. I do all my own editing. My girlfriend Crystal, she helps me as well with the editing, and then making a thumbnail, uploading, creating a good title and all that sort of stuff, and then promoting it from there as well, because it doesn't just end there. You got to get back on, you got to answer comments, all that sort of stuff, put it on other platforms, drive traffic. So basically, take a couple days off, start thinking, by Tuesday, okay, what am I gonna upload this week? Start looking at my list on my phone, try and not talk myself out of the ideas, because a lot of the time it'll be like, oh, I've already done that, or this is stupid, or, whatever. We have a lot of self-doubt. So, and my partner, Crystal, she's really good at helping to just, I'll give her a few ideas and she'll be like, that one is like awesome. Just like stick with that and just do it. And sometimes I need that. So, come up with an idea. Wednesday, I'll either start researching for the video, if it's a more sort of educational one, and scripting, or I will recipe test if it's for recipes, because I want the video to like run smoothly. I want to make sure that the amounts and everything are all good once I start the camera rolling, and a lot of the time it'll require some sort of prep ahead of time. Like I just did a video like that was a smoked salmon replica using carrot. It's like a carrot lox video, and it's actually, or what, that was one of the recipes amongst a handful that I did in the video. But basically had to test the recipe, and then it has to marinate overnight to get the flavors in there. And then I taste it the next day, and then like, you kind of be like, okay, is this good or not? So you got to think about things a few days ahead. So, I'll recipe test, let's say on like the Wednesday, and then the Thursday, ideally I will film. And usually if I'm filming a recipe video, it takes up a good chunk of the day. If I'm doing a full day of eating, then it's like the whole day. And it seems, watching it probably just seems like, oh, I just like plunk the camera down and, just like make a recipe or whatever. But there's so much like, moving the camera around. I don't have a very big kitchen, as you can see, but I do make it work. There's like a nice little spot where I put my camera in the windowsill. And I have a couple like little spots that I use in there. But between that, trying to keep the kitchen looking clean, which a lot of the time, like, you probably think, oh, this kitchen's clean all the time. Behind the camera is just like all the food I'm using, or like food scraps, or like the spices, or, you know, paper towel for me, just like wipe my hands to try and clean them up quickly and then just like throw it behind there. So, you know, yeah, it looks a lot neater than it often is. And then, so I'll film and then edit on Friday. And if my girlfriend's, and all the while, you know, I'm still trying to like keep up my Instagram. I have a Facebook group for people that have purchased one of my recipe ebooks. So, you know, that's like got 12,000 members in it. So I try and get on there and be as active as I can in there. But yeah, so Friday rolls around, it's time to edit and create a thumbnail. And of course, you already have had to have thought of what your thumbnail is going to look like before you start filming. So usually I try and do that during the planning phase, because you always want to, you know, like, oh, got to hold the plate and like smile, and then I know I'll have some food in the background or whatever it might be, right? Like you got to have it, because the worst is when you're editing and you go to upload and you're like, crap, I don't have a thumbnail. And then you have to like scrub through the whole video to find something that's like, looks kind of, you know, represents the video, that looks kind of clear and, you know, clickable and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's terrible to have to do that. Although it works for some people's videos. I know some people will probably just take whatever YouTube suggests and just like use that. And for some people it works, but yeah, I try and, you know, curate my thumbnails pretty nicely to make them the most clickable. And you learn over time what that is. And yeah, and then Saturday, let's say, yeah, is the upload. So I'll do that, and then you stick around and answer comments and post to Instagram, say, hey, go check out my video over here, and just kind of, yeah, monitor how the video is doing. I can do that while I'm at the gym and that sort of thing. And then start again, rinse and repeat, take a day or two off, and then there you go.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your kind of creative process, because that gives, like, again, kind of like, now I know, like, we're, you know, a lot of people are just listening to this, watching versus watching a video. Like, man, that would be like, I don't know if it'd get a lot of views, but like if you literally did a YouTube on your creative process, like that would
Right.
be so empowering for creative people. Cause I love how you have a schedule. Like, you know, just to recap, Tuesday, like idea generation / review,
Yep.
Wednesday, research, kind of like whatever the idea is, and or do recipe test. Thursday is like film day, like film all the
Mm-hmm.
content. You know, and making sure during that Thursday filming that you're capturing like an awesome thumbnail for that. Because I'm not big on YouTube whatsoever, but what I've learned from other YouTubers is like having a good thumbnail is like key to getting people to click on it and like actually watch it. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you called that out. And then Friday, your editing, creating that thumbnail. Saturday is like upload and promote, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
share it on Instagram, answer comments, etc. And then Sunday, Monday is like take a fucking rest so you can
Mm-hmm.
recharge your creative well, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Ideally, you know, if I could recommend anything to people, that they'd be a couple weeks ahead of time, and, you know, like that you would have some videos like already done, saved in the bank, and so you have a little bit of a buffer. But whenever I've tried to do that, it always, like, you know, life will get in the way, and then eventually I just kind of catch up to that deadline, and it's just how it works for me. So I know I work best on a deadline. So that's just like, yeah, that's how it always has worked with me. I remember, yeah, there was someone else, a really prominent girl in the vegan scene. Actually, her name is Ravana, but I remember I went to a fruit festival and she was there and she was talking about her creative process. And she said, yeah, you always have to have like a schedule, like, of evergreen videos that are just saved for a rainy day. So if you don't have anything, you can just like put those up. And I was always doing it like this, like it's like scramble to get this done sort of thing. And she's like, yeah, you know, so I probably have like 8 or 10 of those videos that, you know, I filmed like months and months ago that are just like waiting. Yeah. And then she's like, and then have your content laid out, like, so you know what you're filming each week. And she's like, and this was like in the summer, and she's like, I have stuff, like every video planned out until December. And I was like, holy crap. Like, it was like so discouraging for me to hear, because like the way I do it is so different. So for some people, you know, that's probably a much nicer way. Granted, she had like a whole film crew, editors, like she just basically walk on set, and you know, everything was already there for her. Right. But for me, I like to keep things relevant to like what is happening in my life at the current time. And and I like to sort of match, like, because I show a lot of my Instagram stories. So I like to kind of bring people along with the whole like adventure of my life, rather than it just being like these super highly like polished, I do try and polish my videos as much as I can, but just highly polished, clickable content. It's not really what I try to do necessarily.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Like even with my podcast, there'll be times where I get like a bunch of episodes recorded and I have a nice bank, and then like
Mm-hmm.
life gets busy and the bank gets down to zero, and I'm like, fuck, I got a podcast to record. And like, Parkinson's law, work expands to fill the time that you give it. I'm similar to you. Like nothing motivates me like a deadline. So
Mm-hmm.
I think understanding yourself and then also kind of having compassion on your own creative journey. You know what I mean? Like doing your best, to kind of like really just listen to what works for you. Cause similar to you, like I know somebody who has like all their content planned out for like 3 weeks, like Instagram, like YouTube, like everything. And I'm like that just doesn't work for me. I can maybe kind of like have an idea of like, here's a bunch of ideas that could manifest into a fully fleshed out post or podcast, but like I kind of want to listen to like what I'm most inspired by in the moment once I start that creation. And it sounds like you're kind of the same. Like you kind of like keep a running list of ideas, and then it's like you run some of them by like Crystal, your girlfriend, and like, okay, like which one do you feel? And then you kind of like, okay, that one feels like the right one to go after, and then you fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I always have a couple wild cards in the bank. Like I know, I try and be easy on myself, like, but I'm not. But I try to, if I don't have anything, I know that I can always do like a live. I can always go live and do like a Q&A on Saturday. And that's sort of like, but that's like, as much as I love doing it, and I love connecting with people, and it definitely like it fills my cup more than just a regular upload. Because you get to connect with people like instantly on the chat and answer questions and all that. It feels like a bit like I failed. Like I'm like, I just have to do this week. And I never really like schedule it. So it would be nice if I could like actually schedule a live sometime, maybe in the middle of the week, so I could still do those, rather than it being like the fallback if I don't have anything. And then also like the full day of eating videos are like, I know no matter what, I can always like pull one of those out and just like show what I eat in a day, because those videos aren't polished recipes that I have to have recipe tested, because it's just stuff that I like consistently make. And those are my favorite videos to make, because a lot of the time when I make the recipe videos, they're a little bit more labor intensive. I'm measuring stuff out, and it's just not how I generally operate. I just like just put ingredients together into a bowl, create a delicious sauce, and it's like that is a meal. It's like doesn't have to be some a recipe all the time.
Yeah, I love it. Well, as we start to wind down this this podcast episode, one thing that I always like to ask guests is kind of like a leave behind, or kind of a tip, tool, or strategy for fitness, money, and life. One for each. So let's start with fitness. What would you share with the audience?
Okay, well, I think like we were talking about, just don't like chase the fun, as you said, and like don't stop playing, and don't worry too much about being great at something when you start. And I heard a quote the other day, actually, I really liked, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And I thought that was really cool. And I think I heard it when I was out running. I was listening to some podcasts, and I thought, man, this is so good, because a lot of people, they want to, you tell them, that, oh, I sometimes go jogging or whatever. And they're like, oh, I can't jog, I'm no good at it. Well, it's like, yeah, of course, because you don't do it. Like you got to start in order to get better at these things, to be more proficient at it. And but yeah, basically chase the fun, do things that spark your interest, that ignite that inner child inside of you. And for me, that's riding a bike. And that is one of my most consistent forms of exercise, cardio exercises, that I just like love going out and exploring and riding my bike and going through trails and hitting little jumps and jumping over logs and skidding my back tire. It just like, it makes me feel so youthful and free, because, you get to a fork in the trail which way am I going to go? And it's just, these decisions are just like so easy at the time. And we're forced to make so many decisions all day that are like so big and meaningful. And, and these are just like so easy to make. And like I said, you're getting healthier and fitter at the same time. So if you could find things that are, that do that, ignite the inner child in you, that are fun, that also keep you healthy and keep you moving, I think you're going to be a lot healthier for the rest of your life.
I fucking love that one. Yeah, I'm all about the fun, because, if you're not having fun, what's the fucking point?
Mm-hmm.
In any part of
No,
life?
exactly.
If you're not having fun, what's
Yeah.
the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And even now when I'm out, okay, yeah. I was going to say, even now when I'm out jogging, I'm not like a parkour guy or anything like that. I'm not great at it, but if I see a table to jump over, or a chain that I can like balance on, or whatever, like I just throw that into it, and it's like I know the few seconds that I'm going to lose of whatever. I never really time my runs, but maybe of hard effort or whatever. Like I know I'm going to get it back a lot in just enjoyment, and it's going to help me get out there again to do it like the next time. So just keep it fun.
I love it. How about money?
Man, well, okay. Well, knowing your audience, I think having multiple streams of revenue is important. And if you can have multiple streams of passive income, I think that's like a really empowering thing, because then it can free up your time and your effort to do other things. So for instance, I have an audience of people that follow me on YouTube that look forward to my recipes. So I eventually created a recipe ebook where it took a lot of time to do, and I wasn't getting any money for it when I was creating it. And, I probably even had to take some weeks off of filming in order to the crunch time to get it finished and that sort of thing. But yeah, did it all myself, tested all these recipes and took pictures of it, and, bought some lights and all that sort of stuff to get good pictures of it. And then worked with a small team, just like one other person, or there's a small team, I'd say, like a graphics guy and someone who helps me with my Facebook ads and stuff. But put it all together. And then boom, once I do all that work, it's done. And now that can just sit there and make money for me. I can promote it whenever I want. So, when I'm making a recipe, if you guys like recipes like this, check out my recipe ebook. And I actually have 2 of them now. And that's been a really nice, it's really helps to supplement my income as well than, just YouTube, because it's up and down, right? With YouTube, you never know how much it's gonna pay if you're getting clicks or not. So it's nice to have that sort of thing. And then of course I have some other small things, or you can do a lot once you have an audience like this. It's like I have a Amazon link where it's like, check out my Amazon store, and here's the camera I use and the lights that I use and the my blender and this. And if people go there and buy it, you get a couple cents. So it's like, it's easy for me to just like throw that link in here and there. I've never promoted it or anything, but if people ask, I just let them know, like, hey, you can check out that stuff in this link. And and then every once in a while I get a check from Amazon, and work with like you do. I work with Veg Nutrition, and we work with a supplement company as well. And that's I don't know how, that's not really considered passive income, but it's definitely another revenue source where it just kind of works in with my day-to-day life, my Instagram stories and that sort of thing, where I can just like promote a product I really believe in and I like, that I would be using anyways. So yeah, having like your eggs in many different baskets, I think, is important when you're an entrepreneur.
100% agree. I think multiple streams of income is key to financial freedom, because
Yes.
Things happen in a business or an endeavor that's going well. It may dry up, or we may have a pandemic that like completely shuts it down. So in my own story, when the pandemic happened, I was like, oh fuck, I need to get some more revenue streams going, because my main source of income got like seriously threatened. Now it worked out, but it could have not worked out. And so since then, now I have like multiple streams of income, because I'm just like, I want to be financially free no matter what happens. And so I think that's genius, is just encouraging people. And with the power of the internet, there's so many different ways you can create like digital products, digital services, e-course, ebook, all that stuff. I know you're working on a course, which I'm really excited about. Just, teaching people how to, ease into and have a really awesome experience into the plant-based vegan lifestyle.
Mm.
So one quick question, just because you brought it up and we're both veg athletes, what's your favorite veg supplement if you could only choose one?
Oh, from Veg Nutrition?
Yeah.
I would say, man, I think I probably the pre-workout, to be honest with you. Like I could, as much
Same.
as I love, as much as I love, having some protein powder in my smoothies, if I could only have one from them, it's like, the pre-workout, it hits really hard. And I think that's that's one supplement that you could take that is gonna like level up your fitness, because you got to go into the gym and you got to hit it hard. And I think, a lot of people that struggle to reach their fitness goals don't realize how hard you have to push it in order to, make progress. So I think that's probably it. Yeah. So you too.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the same way. Yeah, if I could only pick one thing, it's always the pre-workout, because it's like, I totally agree with you. It's like the more bang you can get for your buck in the gym, like meaning the more you can push yourself
Mm-hmm.
in, even a limited amount of time, the more like growth you're going to experience. So like for me, like it's just one of those supplements. It's like I know I'm going to have a great workout if I have some pre-workout beforehand. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
exactly.
totally
And
agree with you.
for me, it's like, if I know, it's like every scoop, is a couple, it's like, I don't know how much it is. I've never worked it out per scoop, but it's like, it's some money that you're consuming. And then it's also like stuff that you're like putting into your body. So I'm like, whenever I do it, I'm like, I'm not going to waste this workout. It's not like that. That's kind of
Ah.
another sort of mental thing for me as well. And, yeah, I just don't, I consume it for a purpose. And then once I have it, I'm like, it's go time. And not only does it like, physically, get you going with the ingredients, but like, yeah, mentally as well.
Yeah. There's also when you like caffeine, like let's be honest, caffeine is a drug. It feels amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
Mm-hmm.
100 milligrams of caffeine in the pre-workout. And then when you compare like even if you just drink coffee, like forget like a pre-workout. If you don't want to like drink pre-workout, like if you can have a cup of coffee right before you work out, in your mind, you will subconsciously link up that good feeling that caffeine gives you with working out.
Mm.
So you'll actually get addicted to working out. So, like, that's one of the things I love about a pre workout is like, I might be tired and not really feel like hitting the gym, but I want that like pre workout, like, hit
Yeah.
that like little mini high.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, fuck it, let's go to the gym so I can have my pre workout. And then I end up getting into it. And I'm like, I'm grateful I came.
Nice. Yeah.
So
So same, definitely.
awesome. Random side tangent. Sorry, I was just curious. How about a tip, tool, or strategy for life?
Yeah, for life. Well, let me think of this one. I had one. We've already talked about it a lot. Well, okay. I think, and this kind of for life, it sort of goes to like the business thing as well, but it was like something I didn't get to say in this interview, and that it was my mentor said it to me once when we were getting out of school and we were all really nervous to start helping people, was that he said, you don't have to be finished the entire book in order to tell somebody what happened in the chapter that you just read. And I thought that was really powerful, because I always felt like I have to know everything. Like I had to know everything about all these conditions. And like I said before, I had to have all my ducks in line here, and I had to be a professional this. But it's like, no, I just have to help people that are a little bit behind where I'm at, that want to get to where I'm at. And that's all people want when they come to you as a coach or even as a mentor or a friend or whatever it might be. So I just thought that was a really reassuring saying, is that, yeah, you don't have to be finished the entire book to tell someone what happened in the chapter that you just read.
That's perfect, dude. Because I think we're always worried about being like complete, like, oh, I have to be a master and I have to like know everything. And the truth is like all of us can help somebody who's like a little bit further behind in some area of life. So really beautiful
Exactly.
message, brother. Any
Cool.
last things that you want to share with the audience, requests, things that you want to talk about, or anything else before we land this plane?
No, I don't think so. Just no, it's the classic YouTuber thing: like and subscribe so you can see more. No, that's no. Just thanks for having me on here. It's cool to be able to speak with a different audience than just my own, and I hope everybody enjoyed it and was able to get something out of it. And thank you for having me on here.
Awesome. And best place for people to connect with you online if they're interested in learning more about you and what you do.
Yeah. So Simnett Nutrition, Simnett. You'll probably have it in the show notes, I guess. But yeah, Simnett Nutrition
Yep.
on YouTube and on Instagram is where I'm the most active.
Awesome. Derek,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Cool, man. Happy to be here. Thank you.